I want to just share with you, I write in many different genres, although, as I say, I am by instinct a poet, albeit terminal. This is a blog I started last year and then I stopped, but I wanted to share this with you. It was written in Ghana, October 28th, 2009. Set speaks otherwise about coffee. So after another drug-induced night of sleep, courtesy of Big Pharma, I'm once again sitting in the restaurant of the guest quarters at the University of Ghana. My choices for breakfast are decidedly simple and simultaneously stress-inducing for a Westerner who, more often than not, has a panoply of choices for something as basic as a toothbrush, let alone breakfast. Here you can have eggs, fried, scrambled, or perhaps boiled, bread, brown or white. This is included in the nightly rate of $55 US per night. How soon before we start quoting rates in the Chinese yuan? But for an extra 2 cedis, I can have oatmeal porridge. Today I decide on scrambled eggs, done really nicely. Ghanaian cooks are reputed to be prized around West Africa, and yesterday's lunch certainly confirmed that reputation. Fried cassava fish with jollof rice, and fried plantains, all done to perfection. But back to breakfast and drugs. My morning drug of choice is coffee, which is in no way intended to make light of addiction, but simply to underscore how deeply habituated I am to coffee, which is addictive, and how ritualized my behavior around my consumption of it has become. Often I find myself thinking about and looking forward to my morning cup of coffee the night before. Shared laughter. In an effort to assuage my rest and guilt, I only buy fair trade, organic, shade-grown coffee, thereby killing 2 metaphorical birds of the environment and exploitative labor practices with 1 cup of coffee. I even roast my own beans and have even, dare I confess, attended coffee school. Yes, mea culpa, mea maxima culpa, coffee school. Run by a coffee proprietorship in Toronto whose practices ensure that coffee growers receive a fair price for their beans. So, I've learned about roasting and I've learned about grinding. I've learned about Ethiopia, some say it's Oromia, being the place where coffee was first brewed. And I've learned that there are over 800 different flavors in coffee, which far exceeds those found in wine. But I didn't learn that traditionally in Ethiopia, coffee drinking is a communal activity, that you would roast the beans along with cardamom and cloves, that you would also burn incense, which you pass around alongside the pan of roasted and now smoking beans, to the accompaniment of women ululating. For many people in traditional coffee cultures, simply inhaling the aromatic smoke from the roasting beans is enough. Nor did I learn at coffee school that coffee is a ritual food used to honor and worship Wak, the pre-Abrahamic indigenous divinity of the Oromo people of Oromia, presently located inside Ethiopia, and that Wak's symbolic color is black, like the roasted beans, as is the color of the holy and sacred within Oromo culture, that is, as well as the color of spirit and soul. That the smoke from the roasted beans drift upwards towards Wak, whose abode is the sky. This I did not learn. I did learn, though, that the price of coffee is determined in New York, and that if buyers of coffee would only pay a fraction more to the growers in Africa and around the world, something like 5 cents a kilo, they would be better able to feed their families and build schools for their children. Hence, fair trade organic. The growers have a fighting chance that way, and I can feel a bit less guilty about my habit, I think. Imagine then how my heart sunk on observing that my morning drink, my first and often only hit of the day, will be coffee courtesy of Nescafé, of Nestle fame. The same company implicated in the baby milk scandal of the 70s in Africa. Nestle at that time encouraged mothers to stop breastfeeding so they would turn to Nestle powdered milk to feed their babies. There was only one small drawback. Mothers didn't have the money to continue to buy the milk after the first promotional offers, or didn't have access to potable water to mix the milk, or both. Result, their babies became malnourished and died. In English and French, the Nescafé tin assures me that it is classic, pure, instant coffee. The tin is chock-a-block with information about coffee breaks and stimulants and the importance of antioxidants, which apparently abound in coffee. The image of a beautiful young African woman, complete with, you guessed, café au lait skin, and braided hair, drinking a cup of coffee, completes the branded image. A website address will provide you with more information on the benefits of coffee if you so need. And several West African countries are listed with contact phone numbers. The print is fine, and there is a lot of it. So it would have been very easy to miss that Nestlé, the parent company, has been around since 1866. I do the calculations, some 28 years after the abolition of slavery, and 8 years before the slavery in the British Empire, and 8 years before the abolition of slavery and trading in slaves in Ghana itself. This is all about trade, isn't it? It has always been about trade. This is not my first time drinking instant coffee courtesy of Nescafé. Indeed, combined with evaporated milk, which is how it's drunk in the Caribbean as well, it has its own charms. But the Nestle baby scandal and ensuing boycott throws a long shadow here in Ghana, since it is so illustrative of how the world, and in particular the corporate world, continues to exploit Africa and Africans. The dumping of toxic waste in certain African harbors comes to mind, not to mention the illegal scouring of the seabeds along the coastline of Africa by international trawlers, resulting in a paucity of fish for the local populations, in turn resulting in young men turning to piracy, etc., etc., etc. I look at the brown granules, so reminiscent of animal turds. No walk here. And think of the long process, let's call it the 3 E's, exploitative, exhaustive, extractive, that brings this product of Africa back to Africa. Like myself, different color, different quality, different taste, processed, as much by the 3 E's as this coffee I now pour hot water on and stir. But when I roast my beans, watch them turn from green to brown to black, and inhale the smoke, perhaps I too take a little bit of walk, a little bit of soul, a bit of the sacred back into myself. As I grind the oh-so-black beans, I'm aware of how we, New World Africans, were ground fine in the grindstones of history. And as I drink the black and not at all bitter, if made properly, brew, perhaps I become a part of WAC for that moment, hopeful that my gesture of caring for someone whom I don't know at all in Africa, South America, Indonesia, wherever trade attempts to erase the human, does matter. It is unfortunate that the caring can only be expressed through trade, through paying a bit more for coffee. But this is what we have at present. And I want to believe that WAC knows and sees all. My God, all this before my first cup of coffee.